I'm Joe for RoCo Talks. Our guest today is David Myers of Big Break. He's going to talk to us today about his creative process, about his band, and about his life after his accident.
It's a song. It is a song for the people that I love. Yes, it even though I may be broke. Well, here's a little song I wrote for the people that I call my friends. Ain't nothing wrong. There's not a single thing wrong if you wanna join right in. Yeah. And you can sing along. I wish you would sing along. It goes just like this. La 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 la. I wanna thank you. I wanna thank you for being one of my friends. I'm for real. Oh yeah, wanna thank you. Wanna thank you for being one of my friends.
Well, Dave, thanks for being here, buddy.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah. David, how did your music change after your accident?
I don't know that it did. I might have gotten a little morbid for a while. It's always a therapeutic process anyway, so certainly the first year's worth of songs had a little morbid tinge, but still like with an optimistic twist to them. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely 2 or 3 of those that I've spun out since the accident. But for the most part, I think the process and the approach remains the same for the most part. I guess. Yeah.
Did you find that you needed to write about your experience?
Probably not specifically, but yeah, it definitely had to come out one way or another,
Yeah.
And the song is the most, probably more permanent way of like getting that out. You can cry 100 times and it won't do as much as if you say the right things in the song. So I kind of give myself motivation. A lot of times some of these newer songs I'll be writing as if I'm telling everybody else these things, like I know them, but really I'm just reassuring myself. It's more like trying to keep myself up and going. So
I think that's a lot what art is. It's therapy for the artist.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Definitely in this case.
What is your method for writing a song? Are you the type of guy that you have a melody and you in your head and then somebody or you puts the words in, or do you have the words first and you find a melody for it?
Sometimes either of those could apply. A lot of times it might be an idea that I want to get across, and or maybe a clever line or something like that I want to apply. A lot of times it'll start with that, and then I'll could start with words and a musical lick probably, and then the melody comes to in between. The melody is what kind of holds those together, because you can have words and you can have a song and they can have nothing to do with each other until you put that melody, and that's really like the thread that ties those two things together, the rhythm and melody. So usually it starts with either music or words, mm-hmm. and then I tie them together however that has to happen.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of ritual that you go through when you're trying to be creative or write a song or do something? Some artists and some songwriters have, I have to be in a special room, or I have to have only, blue M&Ms and I'm locked in a room by myself. No. Is there any kind of ritualized stuff you do?
Nothing that specific. Usually, if anything, it's just the time of day would be in the morning, and honestly, it's just whenever it hits me. It could be. A lot of times, I used to write, after a show or an open mic or something. When I would go home, either exhilarated or frustrated with how the show went, I would go home and, dispel that into some sort of music. But a lot of times real early in the morning, 4 or 5, or, just get up to use the bathroom and can't settle back down and ended up mashing on some idea and seeing what comes out of it.
If you're away from your home, do you carry around a pad or anything like that where you can write down ideas?
My phone.
Your phone?
Yeah, I've got something called OneNote, and it's got, a whole thing called Song Ideas, another one called Cool Rhymes, just random stuff like that. And also, what's even better or equally useful is voice recorder, because then you can get the melody, the timing, the all that kind of stuff, syllable placement, whatever.
How did Big Break get started?
I started out mainly doing acoustic stuff because I was just playing the same open mic every weekend, and then started doing random solo shows, and I brought a drummer on, or a guy asked me, Cracker, he asked me if he could play drums. I was like, yeah, sure. He just kind of sat in with me one day, and we started getting serious about doing an album, and he knew a bass player, and we became a three-piece, It was in 2010, about the middle of 2010 we started, as we kind of put Big Break together, and it was for the first album that we did, that we released in 2011.
All you guys from around here, did you guys sit together?
The first drummer I had was literally just a friend of a friend, and it was just him approaching me and saying, "Hey, let's play some music together." After seeing one of my shows, and then it was a bass player that he was in a band with, and so that's how a lot of it goes in music, anyways.
What would you call, or do you even have a category or a name for the style of music that Big Break plays?
Yeah, that's one of the issues I have. It would be nice if I could say, "Hey, we're this kind of band." We tend more for the danceable music, whether it's like funky, like funk rock style, or ska or reggae. All of it's based around heavy lyrics and hopefully deeper meaning in most of the songs. Not everything's so serious, but usually they're based around the lyrics, and then we kind of fashion the music to whatever style. But we end up ranging from that funk rock all the way to, you could say, like folk grass type.
So you'd rather, when you say heavy, you'd rather talk about deeper issues, so you don't have as many songs maybe about puppy love and such.
Right, and of course, those are littered throughout any artist's probably music is songs about women and relationships, one of the most important things we go through. But yeah, it's nice to have other topics to hash out,
Exactly.
So yeah, I definitely don't confine myself to any certain topic or any certain style, and that's like one of my favorite things about moving forward is the limitless, opportunities, really.
Yeah. Is there a type of is there any kind of muse that inspires you, that reoccurs in your work, or is there a reoccurring theme that you always find yourself going back to?
Yeah, so positivity would be a good theme that I pretty much always am, in one way or another. That's one of my favorite things to promote and to discuss. As far as a muse goes, it's really hard to say. Just any part of life that speaks to me. A lot of times I think a lot of artists do this. Whatever they take in is what they kind of put out. So whatever I'm reading at the time, like whatever books I'm into, is a lot of what comes out. Whether it's directly or it's mostly indirectly, but you know, whether it's the vocabulary or the approach or whatever. But a lot of times, what I'm reading is what I'm writing.
What things do you like to read?
Well, I like to read. If I can stand it, I like to read informational stuff. I've always got a science book on the side that I'll read a chapter here and a chapter there and try to soak it in while I read something a little more enjoyable. But a little bit of everything, really.
Do you enjoy news? Do you keep up with current events?
I do. I do keep up with current events. I try not to get involved with them. It's more stressful than it's really worth. I mean, I vote. I'm involved in the process, but as far as it's probably not really good for the music business to be touting your. Even though I have pretty firmly held beliefs, and I'll express some of them in my songs, but outside of that, try not to push anybody away with opinions,
Exactly. And I think a lot of artists, you see it a lot with actors. They'll become known for certain movements, but I think a lot of times they risk alienating a whole audience because they're better known for their activism rather than art. But that's there's an argument on each side of that.
Right. To be clear, I mean, I firmly believe that with any kind of stage you acquire, you're almost required to say something. To me, if you're not saying something about what you believe and feel, then maybe you're wasting the stage that you've been given. To me, whatever kind of people I can reach, I want them to know what I think, but there's also a gentle nudge to it that I try to do with my songs and not with talking, outside. I guess social media would be the only way to do that, but I think I like to let my songs speak for themselves.
Well, a lot of people feel that that's the artist's obligation to speak out, but as you just said, you're doing it through your work rather than standing up and yelling. Did you always want to do music your whole life? Did you grow up doing it, or did you find it some other way?
I grew up daydreaming about it, but never thinking that it was an option. It never even occurred to me that it was something that I could do, especially for a living. People would pay me to do it. That's a surprise. That's not something that a 15-year-old me would have ever believed. But at the same time, I was pretty good at all the aspects of it. My singing voice was the last thing probably to come along that made me think like, maybe I can. And now my guitar playing holds me back. That's the musicianship isn't there. I can sing, but
did it take you a while to develop your voice?
I think so. I have somewhere there's a recording of me at age of 19 maybe singing Angie by the Rolling Stones and playing it. Now that's not
I'd like to hear that.
It's not an easy task, but I sound very weak. It's not the gutsy voice that I'm used to hearing played back to me. So I can see hearing that why, number one, a lot of people weren't really encouraging me back then to pursue it, and two, why I myself was kind of leaving it alone,
Yeah. Well, going back to your development as an artist and development as an artist after your accident, what kind of support did you get from people in the community, your fans and loved ones?
It was overwhelming. It is the only really word to describe it. It wasn't even it was more than enough, and then it was just overwhelming. I couldn't even be selfish enough to think about myself and to feel sorry for myself whenever, I spoke with hundreds of people, that were doing all this mourning for me. And it's it's enough mourning being done that I don't really have to, it took me a while for it to even start sinking in on me, because of more or less I was just blown away by how many people cared that and came to my rescue. That was.
Do you feel healed inside? Do you feel like you're sufficient, mentally and physically, self-sufficient? Do it all?
Nah, I don't know that I ever was anyways, that any of us ever are. I mean, you can be on your own and this and that and be happy and self-sufficient in most ways, but at the same time, I mean, everybody at some point looks for confirmation from somebody, and I haven't gone without that. So it's really hard to say. I mean, I'm as self-sufficient as I ever was, I mean, I think in a lot of ways, I can't reach the damn plates in the cabinet, but I mean, for what I need, I can get through life now.
You still have the fire, the same fire. In the belly.
Yeah, this just kind of helped me redirect my focus or refocus on my goal. I had quit my job about 6 months before the accident.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had left R&L and I was doing. I had a couple open mic gigs through the week, and every weekend we'd play 2-3 shows with the band, and I was making my way, and then, in a blink of an eye, you're laying on the asphalt and you're saying, "Hey, my hands work." Thank goodness, I mean, really, literally laying on the asphalt saying, "Well, at least I can move my hands," and I have my music. And
at that moment,
literally,
that's the first thing
that was not the first thing. I think it was silly stuff. Was the first things I thought of was like, was it my fault? Where's my backpack? And then, whose belly am I touching? You know what I mean? And then that realization. I mean, almost immediately. I've been riding motorcycles. I've been injured enough to kind of assess everything. I was clear-headed as soon as I woke up and realized that it was silence, after a certain point, it was just dead, So yeah, there was that moment, and I couldn't really feel my right hand, but I saw myself moving them, and I said, I'll play guitar again. Told him who to call in my phone and pass back out. Realized all the same things in the helicopter again, 20 minutes later.
Do you think of yourself as a role model for other people?
Not really.
No,
I don't though. I mean, because no matter what you think about what I'm doing, I mean, it looks like I'm doing great. Everybody sees me online, and I'm doing okay for this is my second year in paralysis, and that's cool, but. Well, I don't really have much of a choice. You know what I mean? It's like anybody. You break your back, and what do? You either pick up the pieces, or you let yourself lay there. And everybody else, like I said, everybody picked up the pieces for me. I mean, there were people everywhere, and I had a good support group when I first came out of it. And here's why I can't hardly really pity myself is because. Even like I say, laying on the asphalt there, I still had more than most people ever have, as far as the music, it's like I had quit my job 6 months prior to pursue music, and really, aside from my physical ability to maybe set up a PA and work a open mic and all that stuff, I didn't get that taken from me. That didn't get changed at all, So not only do I know what most people never, ever figure out, which is what I wanted to do with my life, clearly what I was, what's right for me, I knew that, and I was still able to do it. That never changed through this whole process. I lost a whole slew of things, but, the main thing, the number one focus, I still had that to zero in on so that everything else just kind of bounced off. So it's like, I've been through a lot, and I'm holding my head up and keeping smiling and all. So for that, yeah, sure, but I still kind of got it made as far as career paths. Maybe maybe not. It's not like at least I still get to do what I want to do.
Well, I'll say this. I think it's, maybe we won't say, maybe we'll say inspirational. I think I think you inspire other people. I know you inspire me. And because you handled it like, a warrior. I think it's just amazing the way you handle it, the way you do everything. You didn't miss a beat, man. I tell you. We'll end up with this. Tell me about the new album. You got a new album coming out?
Yes, sir.
When's it coming out, man?
That's a good question. That's the question of the. It keeps getting shoved back, but the farther back it gets pushed, the better it's going to be. Really, I mean, we're about 4 or 5 songs into it now, and we've got a good system for tracking. We're tracking it on our own. It's going to be called Head Full of Melodies, and we're shooting at putting 12 songs on it. Okay. And it's the full band. We're bringing in some outside musicians to help liven it up, and it's exciting. We're gonna get behind this one full steam, kind of like we haven't in the past. We've put out a couple other albums, but never really rallied around them and shoved them in everybody's face like we're supposed to do. This one will be that, and it's so far the songs we've got are really shaping up. It's going to be different than anything we've put out so far.
But you think it'll come out this year?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We just don't know when.
Oh yeah. If it's only a 5-song album, we're going to put something out this year. Yeah. But I intend, speaking of this year, once this album is done, I'm going to switch gears and do an acoustic album with 8 songs on it.
Solo?
It'll be produced. I mean, there'll be little drums, little bass, but it'll be, whereas this album we're working on now is focused around, the whole band. Maybe we start with a drum track and kind of build on that. This one will start with the acoustic and build around that.
Will it be a big break production, or is it going to be just
it's gonna be under Big Break's name, because I mean we play a lot of this stuff at shows, and we try to retain our flexibility live as well.
Okay. Well, send me the information, of course, on how to find you guys, and we'll put this up on the screen at the end. And if you got a sample or anything you can send us.
I got a real cool one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you send it to me and we'll play it out.
It's funky as shit, man. I mean, it's like the funkiest thing we've ever put out. It's funny because it's like I just brought it to Al as like a guitar riff, just a basic. This is me playing a guitar and do something with that, and so the drummer put a nice square little beat on it, but everything else in there, bass and synth and keys and all that, that's all Al, it's his like his creative mind, because every song and almost all the construction up until this point have been from my brain, and they kind of come up with their own parts, but this one I've really pushed a lot into his his creativity, and he really came through on it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dave, man, thanks for coming to the show and helping us out, and being a great guest. And thank you very much for joining us on RoCo Talks. Join us next time.
Get your face out of that cell phone, please. Talk to me. face out of that cell phone, please, and talk to me.